So as you mentioned in the outset, the letter that the Alter Rebbe writes is followed afterwards by a biur, by an explanation. Here the Alter Rebbe will talk about the melitza, different methods of verbiage that he uses, different poetic biblical expressions, and he'll explain them in greater detail as to why they are precise and exact. Okay, let's get straight into it. Biur al anal isa b'zeir HaKodesh. This letter begins directly by saying, we have learned in the holy book of Zohar. The tzadiko de ispater, the tzaddik who passes on, ishtakach b'chulu almin is found in all worlds, yater mib'chayui, even more so than during his terrestrial life. Chulu, etc. So the Alter Rebbe begins with the obvious question. Which Igeres? It's Igeres Chav Zayin, Biur al Anal. So the Alter Rebbe begins with the obvious question. Tzarech lahavin. This Zoharic statement needs to be understood. Tinach be'elam misal yenim. If you are to say that the tzaddik is found in the higher worlds more so than during his terrestrial lifetime, so that makes sense. Ishtakach yater ba'alei shama. He's found more there because he, so to speak, is in an elevated state. Aval be'elam hazer. However, when we talk about in this world, eich ishtakach yater. How could he be found in this world more so than during his terrestrial lifetime? If the neshama separates from the body, and the neshama goes to a higher place, so maybe it's in a more profound way in a higher level. Sure, that's fine. But it says b'chulu almin, in all worlds, and all words indicates this world that we live in as well. So this is really a huge question. On the surface, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It seems like a totally ridiculous statement to make. So in order to understand what the Alter Rebbe is going to be telling us here, I want to, just for a moment, preface by sharing with you that there are, broadly speaking, 3 levels of neshama. This is called nefesh, then it's called ruach, and then what's called neshama. This is known by the acronym of Naran. And that corresponds to 3 different levels in which a person functions. The Torah talks about machshava, which is thought, dibur, which is communication, and maisa, which is action. So thought is something I do for myself. I don't need anybody else to think. A person can be lost in his own thoughts, a person can be wrapped up in his own ideas, and it can be entirely removed from his or her environment or surroundings. When you're in a state of communication, so you're necessarily engaged and involved with others. However, the engagement is only insofar as verbiage is concerned. I'm having a dialogue, I'm talking, I'm communicating. Doesn't mean I'm actually doing anything. Doesn't mean I'm actually dealing with any kind of reality outside of myself. I can still be wrapped up in my own reality, but I can be communicating, I can be talking. And then there's Maisa, and then there's action. And the truth is that Yiddishkeit makes demands of us on all 3 levels. When we have a mitzvah lahamin, a mitzvah to believe in Hashem, or a mitzvah that we're supposed to be love Hashem, avas Hashem, or a mitzvah that we're supposed to be with a sense of awe and reverence, which is called Yiras Shamayim. So we have mitzvahs like this. Those mitzvahs really speak to the mind, they speak to the machshava, speak to our attitude. This is where our head is supposed to be. And then there are mitzvahs which require verbiage. Simple mitzvah like this, the reading of the Shema. Something we're actually supposed to do, but we don't do anything. We say something. So that's how you serve Hashem with dibur. And then the vast majority of mitzvahs are maisa. There's actions that have to be taken, things Hashem expects us to do. So there are also 3 levels of neshama. And the level of nefesh is what animates and vivifies the physical, actual body, that allows for things to be done. There's the level of ruach, and ruach is what animates or vivifies emotions. Emotions are how I relate to the world around me. It's what they call midas in Hebrew. Midah means a measure. The measures through which I'm able to connect and relate to things that I like, things that I don't like. People make me comfortable, people make me very uncomfortable. People I want to engage with, people I want to push away. Whether it's people or things, it's the way I relate to my environment. And then there's the level of neshama, which neshama is on a higher level of thought and consciousness, which has nothing to do with the way I'm relating to the world around me, but rather the consciousness that I experience, the soul consciousness. Now it's self-understood that to have soul consciousness, one does not require a body. Why would you require a body? Consciousness is consciousness. To be engaged with the world around you, well, it helps to be actually living in this world. So if you're not living in this world, it's a little bit hard to engage, or hard to empathize, hard to understand emotionally, hard to relate to, because it's not part of the human experience. It's not part of our experience, we have difficulty relating to it. And then, of course, there's the notion of nefesh. And nefesh requires a body. In order to be able to do things, I need to have the physical ability to do it. So if a person can't do any of these things, then his nefesh is not functioning. And God forbid a person is comatose, or a person is in a state of a vegetative state, the nefesh is kind of out of commission. The nefesh is not actively doing very much, other than maybe breathing or digesting. But what still could be is this on some level the ruach is still operating, and certainly on a very profound level, the neshama is still operating, the consciousness is still operating. All right, so this is it's an important background to understand where the Alter Rebbe goes here. So in order to understand this statement of the Zohar, which seems to be incongruous, that is yater, that the tzaddik's found in all worlds includes this world. Yesh leimar. It seems likely, it's reasonable to suggest that the answer is al derech mashib kibalti. This is along the lines of the Alter Rebbe. This is what he received from his teachers, al maimer chazal, on the statement of our sages. And this is something which is not found in the actual Torah, but it is found in the manuscripts and writings and literature of our sages, that when they refer to somebody who has passed on, it says, Shavak chayim l'chol chay, that the person who died left life for all those who are alive. So that doesn't seem to make sense either, because if a person dies, he left those who are living behind, but he didn't leave life behind for them. Kenoida, like it's known, shachai ha-tzadik, that the life of the tzadik, einam chayim sorim, it's not fleshy life. That what enables the tzaddik's primary life is spiritual life. Now, what does this mean? How do you define spiritual life? As we talked about in the previous Igeras, Shem Emuna v'yira v'ava. That this represents the faith that the neshama has, the reverence that the neshama has, and the love that the neshama has. Every neshama has this. Every neshama has emuna and yira and ava. That's how you define a neshama. A neshama is exactly that. Why does a person believe in God? He believes in God because his neshama is a piece of God. He believes in God because his neshama sees God. So why don't people express their faith more freely? If they believe in God, why don't they live a life which seems to reflect that faith? And the answer is that the emunah, that the faith remains in a very atmospheric way, even of makif. It doesn't change them in a personal way. And the famous paradigm of this is the ganef, who's a thief, who's breaking in to make his heist, and he's praying to be saved. Ganva, pomachtarta, rachmana karya. There he is, the ganef, digging a hole, digging a tunnel. He's making his attack. He's planning to violate the Torah. He clearly does not believe that God could give him parnasa, that God should sustain him in a normal way, because he's resorted to stealing. So he doesn't believe. And yet he believes God could save him from the police officer, or God will make sure that the owner he won't encounter. So the notion of emunah doesn't necessarily have to affect our behavior. I mean, of course it should, but the fact that it doesn't affect my behavior, it doesn't mean I don't have emunah. So everybody has emunah. So everybody has emunah. Where's the emunah? The answer is it's latent. It's a soul power. It's there, but it's not activated. It's not acted upon. It's not developed. It's not nurtured. It's in theory. It's a theoretical talent and ability. It's a theoretical in the realm of wherewithal, but it's not activated. It's not actualized. And the same thing is true that every single yid has yira. Like it says in Yom that a yid nishta vil, nishta ken zechap reisen von elokus, that a yid by his very nature, he cannot separate himself from God. He refuses to separate himself. This is something he's afraid of. He doesn't want to lose his connection to God. But the people do a lot of very bad things, and very immoral things, and things which are in diametric opposite to what God wants. So where is their yira? It's somewhere. It's under a lot of layers, but it's there. It has to be there if it's a neshama. And every neshama yearns for a connection with God, and every neshama wants to be close to God, and that's the concept of ava. So the tzaddik is a person who is able to transform life into the soul powers. So the soul desires, the soul powers, the soul faculties, that's what becomes the definition of life. That's life for a tzaddik. His life is not the fleshy life. His life is not the idea of living in the material sense, but rather he lives with the neshama. Ki b'emunah ksiv, with regard to faith, it says, v'tzadik b'emunasa yichya. So that's a clear pasuk that speaks about life as it's linked to faith and as a derivative of faith. U'b'yirah ksiv yiras Hashem l'chaim. So once again, we have yiras Hashem, the idea of reverence and awe and respect for Hashem, and it says it's l'chaim, it's for life. U'ba'ava ksiv reidev tzedakah v'chesed yimatzeh chaim. Here the Alter Rebbe uses a different pasuk than he used previously. Here he says that the person who pursues righteousness and kindness will find life. So he says, Reidev tzedakah v'chesed. V'chesed, he says, uhu hava. So chesed, kindness, this represents the idea of love. So if he pursues tzedakah and chesed, yimatzeh chaim. If he pursues the things which are fueled by love, he'll find life. So we see that these three elements can actually translate into life. And because these three elements can translate into life, the tzaddik is a person who's fueled by these things. Now, every single person is fueled by food and sleep. That is a fact. Every single person is also fueled by a sense of meaning, mission, and purpose, or satisfaction of life. If a person would not feel any satisfaction in life whatsoever, a person doesn't want to live, you literally could die from a broken heart. And people have died from a broken heart. They had food, they had sleep, they just died. Why did they just die? Because they don't want to live. They don't want to live. You have to have a will to live. But the will to live, for most people, is a minor part of life. The major part of life is people can exist. Most people just go through life existing. Or if they don't have to go through life existing, what makes them want to live is another moment of material pleasure, another moment of physical self-fulfillment. And that's what inspires them. That's what gives them a sense of life and appreciation for the gifts that Hashem gives them, and that's why they're alive. But the tzaddik is a person. Yes, of course the tzaddik has to eat and sleep, and the tzaddik is limited to a physical body to some degree, but the tzaddik is a person whose primary overriding essence of life is the neshama, is the emunah, the yirah, and ava. And clearly the pasuk says that emunah, yirah, and ava can necessarily contribute towards life. So that becomes the primary thrust of life, and everything else is really secondary, or it's maybe something that's a mechanism, it's a vehicle that sustains the essence of life, but it is not life itself for the tzaddik. The tzaddik's life itself transcends the physicality and focuses entirely on these three elements, neshama elements, these soul faculties. Okay, so these three levels, or these three different measures, which is sholosh midas Elohim, b'chol Elam v'Elam, they exist in every world. Adreim ha'mailos. Now, as you said, the concept of emunah, ava, and yirah, which exist on all levels, hakoil lefi erech bechinas mailos ha'elam ezel zeh, v'derech ilav al kaneda. It can exist in each world. A person could say that he loves lasagna. A person could say that he loves songs, a person, or music. A person could say that he loves another person. A person could say that he loves God. Is it all the same? Is the word love the same? It's the same love for a plate of food, same love for beautiful music, the same love for another person? I should hope not. It's not the same kind of love. But the people use the terminology of love. They still use that verbiage. So what is the truth? The truth is, in the realm of food, this food I love, this food I like, this food I don't like. It's true. In the realm of music, I can experience the same things. So a person experiences, a neshama experiences emunah and yirah and ava on all levels. On the highest levels, a neshama also experiences this. In fact, malachim experience this. This is how malachim define their existence with their emunah in Hashem. Emunah really means a connection. That's what emunah means, because emunah is the way the soul connects to things. You connect physically to things by physically touching them. You connect spiritually to things by or emotionally to things by feeling it, by relating to it. You connect intellectually to things by grasping or understanding it. So a person's talking and you don't understand what he's saying. So I can't connect to what he's saying. I can't relate to it. I don't know what he's talking about. And then you say, that's what the person meant. Now I get it. So now I'm connecting. So I can connect intellectually. I can connect emotionally, so that I can relate to that. I know what that person's feeling, or I have no clue what that person's feeling. I cannot understand what motivates it. I just can't relate to it. And then the things that you relate to in a very literal way. So how does the neshama relate? People say seeing is believing. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. If seeing is believing, what is seeing? Seeing is seeing. It's like saying seeing is believing, touching is believing. Of course not. And it depends. For something that could be touched, if it can't be touched, if it's not dense, it's not real. Then it's called virtual reality. But for something that can't be touched altogether, it's only can be seen. So if it's seen, that's how you define it. I see it or I don't see it. And then there's something that can't be touched, it can't be seen, it can't be heard. How do I define it? It's ruchnius. What exactly is ruchnius? Nobody knows. But how do we relate to ruchnius? We relate to ruchnius through the concept of faith. That's how we connect to it. So in our material terrestrial reality, we connect to ruchnius or to God or to spirituality or to a higher forces by virtue of our faith. And in higher worlds, malachim, the angels that exist in a higher world, and the neshama says they exist higher, how do they relate? They relate through amunah. That's how they connect. Not how relate, that's how they connect. And then how do they relate? A sense of awe, a sense of love. They're attracted to it, the force of attraction, the force of the opposite, an opposite force of repelling something. So this could be found on every single level. All right. So if the idea of emunah v'yira v'ava is found in every level, which means it's found in the level of nefesh, it's found in the level of ruach, and it's found in the level of neshama. As we talked about these three levels, it has to be in these three levels because in every level you're either going to be connecting or relating. And you relate with positive and negative. Either you relating, you want that, you want to get close to it, or you're pushing it away, something you don't want to go near. So when the tzaddik is alive in a terrestrial sense, so these three midas were were within their physical envelope. Bechinas makim gashmi, in that physical place. Bechinas nefesh hakshura begufay. That's the nefesh, which the nefesh is always connected to the body. The nefesh is the vivifying force which enables the body to live. So for example, until a person is born, they don't have a nefesh. So if we have the famous Mishnah that speaks about the woman is having a hard time giving birth, the woman's life is in danger, so you kill the fetus. If a woman's life is in danger, you kill the fetus. Why? He's a reidef. His existence is threatening his mother's existence. If somebody wants to kill somebody else, what does the Torah say? Kill the first person. But then something changes. At the moment of crowning, which is how we define birth, we say, oh, 1 second, hands off. He's going to kill his mother. We can't decide which nefesh. We can't play favorites. You say, you know what, I don't care about this nefesh. I'll prefer this nefesh. You can't choose. It's a choiceless choice. So, hey, 1 second. The Gemara says, but he's a reidef. He says, nah, he's not a reidef. Mishamaya karad falei. That's coming from a higher place. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's circumstantial, and circumstances are brought about by God. 1 second. A moment before, when the fetus was there, you called it a reidef. Now he's crowning, so that's it. No more reidef. That's their work. And what is the Mishnah's words? Ein doichen nefesh mipnei nefesh. We can't take one nefesh to the other. The answer is very simple. The answer is that until a person is actually born, he's not a nefesh. He's a ruach, he's spirit. I can't say it's not a form of life. It's certainly a form of life. Whether abortion is murder is one question. Whether abortion is wrong is another question. The problem in the Western world, they link the two together. It's not one and the same. It's not the question is it right? The answer is no, it's wrong. Is it murder in the classic sense? No, it's not murder in the classic sense. It's still very, very bad. It's still taking a life. And if a Shabbat observant Jew would not violate Shabbos to save a pregnancy, the whole Western world would come after him with pitchforks. How dare you keep your religious convictions? There's a life to be saved. So if it's the life to be saved, then to violate Shabbos, everything. But if a woman decides, I don't need this. Oh, then she's a hero. Great, you don't need it. You have your choice. Do as you please. Get rid of this fetus and so on and so forth. It's your right. It's a strange world we live in. Everybody decides to look at things in their way when they want to. When they want to make it a life, they make it a life. When they want to not, then it's a right. The truth is that neither extreme is correct. It is not a life in the classic, typical sense, meaning it's not a nefesh, but it is a neshama and it is a ruach. And the moment that there's a pregnancy achieved, there's already a neshama which begins a journey. And the neshama has a 9-month journey, similar to the gestational transformation that takes place. And the neshama eventually goes into ruach. And the ruach eventually, from the time of birth, goes into nefesh. And the nefesh is the vivifying force that enables the body to live. So when the tzaddik is living here on earth, So these three midas, the midas of emunah, of faith or connection to Hashem, the midas of yira, of reverence, the midah of ava, are betoich kli ulevush shalahem. They're within this vessel, within this envelope, the envelope of the body, which contains within it the envelope of the nefesh, the vehicle of the nefesh. So the nefesh is in the body, and therefore, if you want to connect to somebody in a nefesh way, it has to be in a bodily sense. That's how you connect. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear me? Do you not hear me? Do you relate to me? Hello? Anybody home? Nefesh. It's a nefesh thing. And the nefesh is through the body. And therefore, all three levels, which includes the level of ruach, how will ruach communicate with somebody else? Through nefesh, through the bodily reality. And this is limited to a physical space. You can't be in two places at one time. This is this nefesh, which nefesh is considered begufa. So v'chol talmida, of all of the disciples of this tzaddik, in a mekablim rak ha'aras midas elu, they can only get the what's called the radiance of these midas, the ziv hameir, the light, the effulgence that comes chutz mikli l'kli outside of this keli. And how did they get that? Ayadei diburav, through his words, or machshavesav, or his thoughts, hakadeshim. So the tzaddik can impact people even through thoughts. As is a famous talk from the Friedrich Rebbe, machshava mayelas, even thinking about somebody, it's not even a righteous thing. So it's an actual thing that you can sometimes communicate by method of thought, but all of that's within nefesh. So the only way you connect is through nefesh. You get ruach. So as it's brought down in many places, that the connection from a tzaddik is not necessarily, I don't need to be connected to a tzaddik so that I can actually do mitzvahs. I can do mitzvahs anyway. Even if I'm not a makusher, even if I'm not bound to a tzaddik, he's not a chassid, I can still do mitzvahs. The question is, how will I do mitzvahs? Will I do mitzvahs just in a dutiful way, with getting by, or will I do mitzvahs with fervor? Or will I be an inspired person? Will I be elevated by a mitzvah, be elevated and buoyed by a sense of spirit? And the answer is, that's really what Chassidus adds. Chassidus doesn't tell you how to do the mitzvahs. Look in the Shulchan Aruch, you find out how to do the mitzvahs, the technical instructions. So what's the learning Chassidus do for you? Learning Chassidus in his kashrus, what it does for you is, it elevates the way you observe the mitzvah. You do the mitzvah with ava v'yira. You do the mitzvah with a sense of reverence, a sense of awe, a sense of passion, a sense of fervor. That's what this is about. So how did the chassid, the Talmud, get from the Rebbe the sense of inspiration and passion and awe? How did he get it? He got it through being there physically, through interacting with the nefesh, because the emunah, ava v'yira, filters through nefesh, and the nefesh has its limitations. Therefore, our sages say, "Ein adam emed al das Rabbi." A person, no matter how hard he tries, will never be able to really, so to speak, grasp the mind of his teacher. Why? Because everything that you're getting from the teacher is ultimately not the essence of the teacher's ideas. It's the teacher's ideas, the way it's conveyed to you. And it always needs some kind of vehicle through which it can be conveyed. Like there's a parable or a metaphor. There's something that's being employed to convey these deeper things. And therefore you can never get to the essence. You're only getting the external realities. But after the passing of a tzaddik, because the nefesh begins to unwind, unravel, which remains tethered to the grave, where the body is laid to rest. This is mebechinas haruach shebegan Eden. This is the level of ruach and Gan Eden. Shein shalosh midas halalu. That what is the ruach comprised of? These three midas: emunah, yira, ava. Just as the nefesh is really comprised of emunah, yira, ava. And that's why even when the tzaddik was alive in a nefesh sense, what fueled that life, what vivifying force there was there? Emunah, yira, and ava. So emunah, yira, and ava fueled the nefesh. Emunah, yira, and ava also comprise the ruach. But the thing is that the ruach is now, in a sense, set free. The ruach doesn't have to come through the filter of the nefesh. And therefore, lefichach, yachal kol hakara ve'lov lekabel chelek mi bechinas ruchi shebegan Eden. Now you can get the level of ruach the way it is in Gan Eden. Hoyel ve'eini b'tech kli, because it's not within the vessel, the vehicle, the convention, the envelope. V'lei bechinas makam gashmi. It's not in the physical space. Okay, so what we need to understand is that the nefesh remains tethered to the body even when the nefesh is no longer, actually, a person no longer alive. Because the body lingers on. The body doesn't just disappear. and explains that the nefesh remains connected to the body. Only it hovers above it. It remains like an atmospheric ray. So the atmospheric reality of the nefesh continues to make the body to exist. And the nefesh needs to be slowly set free. How is the nefesh set free? So for most people, when the body decomposes, because the nefesh is stuck, is held by the body's composition, once the body decomposes, what happens is that the nefesh is set free. And the nefesh unwinds or unravels from being connected in a bodily sense. And then the nefesh, if you will, is connected to the grave. That's where it remains tethered. And that's where people go to a caver, and that's where people even inform the neshama through a caver, because that through the nefesh informs the ruach informs the neshama, but the nefesh remains connected, tethered to a caver. Incidentally, if the body is not allowed to return to its organic elements, it's not allowed to decompose, like Ahmad al-Hassan, they give a non-kosher funeral, then the nefesh is trapped. The nefesh cannot be released. And it causes untold pain and horror for the nefesh. What if the nefesh is decomposed unnaturally? This is called cremation. Terrible pain, terrible suffering for the nefesh, because the nefesh can't be set free. The nefesh needs to be set free, and the only way the nefesh is set free is through the organic decomposition. When the body returns ala afar, that's when the nefesh is set free. Now the ruach you can only experience the ruach through the nefesh. And the nefesh is embodied within the body, enclosed in the body. But when the nefesh is no longer, so to speak, the dominant force, because the body is no longer alive. Mm-hmm. So the body is no longer alive, the nefesh opens up, if you will. If it opens up, if you will, so now the ruach doesn't have to filter through the nefesh. Now the ruach can express itself directly on a level of ruach, on a spirit level. So when the ruach is freed now to express itself purely on a spirit level, whatever connection you had to the tzaddik before was through the nefesh of the tzaddik, which ultimately through the guf of the tzaddik. But since the guf of the tzaddik is no longer active, and since the nefesh is no longer the so to speak, the portal through which the ruach expresses itself, so now the ruach is set free. If the ruach is set free, then now you're receiving from the ruach of the tzaddik directly from the ruach. And the ruach of the tzaddik still remains in this world. So in that case, you can understand now that you're able to receive from the tzaddik on a much higher level. Before, whatever you received the ruach was only through the nefesh. Now that the nefesh is no longer the dominant force, so now we're receiving directly through ruach. So you're going to say, okay, very nice, but ruach is in Gan Eden. It's not in this world. There's nothing to do with us. Adal Rebbe, not so fast. That's not really true. Because we have this idea that the ruach of a person is very much in this world. Only, it's not the vivifying force of the body. Like the famous teaching of our sages, that when Yaakov Avinu walked into Yitzchak, now Yitzchak was blind. So Yitzchak couldn't see. So in general, it says that somebody who's blind is like dead. Their physical engagement is not the same, because they don't have the ability to see what's around them. And so when a person becomes aware of things, who's blind, how do they become aware of it? They become aware, it could be touching, or another way is they become aware of a person. They sense a presence. And a lot of times, when people lose their eyesight, other faculties become even more pronounced. They're able to sense a presence. So Yitzchak sensed the presence of Yaakov. But he had very high sensories. So Yitzchak Avinu. He didn't just sense the presence of another person, he sensed the ruach of this person. Now the ruach of Yaakov, it says, was nichnas ime gan Eden. It says when Yaakov came into the room, so Yitzchak was, unbelievable. Look, the smell, the aroma of this, like the field that God had blessed. What does it mean? He smelled like apples. What did he smell like? He had this miserable, bloody goat skins on him, so he should feel hairy. But what could he have smelled like? A slaughterhouse. There's no way that Yaakov Avinu could smell good. And yet, he specifically expressed himself, says, wow, this is the reach hasada, this is this beautiful aroma. How can it be a beautiful aroma? What kind of beautiful aroma? What is the pshat? What does this mean? So clearly, the aroma is not speaking about something in a literal sense. What is it speaking about? So we're told that this, even Ashi talks about it. He says, Nichnas ime ruach, when it went from the ruach of Gan Eden. Now the ruach of Gan Eden is very specific, not the nefesh of Gan Eden, because there is no nefesh in Gan Eden. The nefesh is what's here, the vivifying force in this world. We say le'ilui nishmas, not le'ilui nefesh. We don't say le'zecher nefesh, le'zecher nishmas. Because the nefesh is what enables the body to live. So when the nefesh separates from the body, it says, Ruach Elokim Tinachenu Began Eden. There's the spirit of God. There's a spirit. And then there's the neshama. That's on even a higher level that cleaves to Hashem. The neshama should be bound up in the bound of life. The neshama is eternal. The nefesh unravels. So what happens here is that Yaakov Avinu was terrestrially alive in a physical sense, walks into the bedroom of Yitzchak, and Yitzchak is lying there in bed, and he wants to bless his son, and he's keenly aware not only of his nefesh, but he's also aware of his ruach. And you can't tell me that it's a spiritual thing that's not connected to the physical, because it was only when Yaakov walked in. It was only when he physically walked in. So when he physically walked in, he came with an atmosphere. And the atmosphere was tethered to his physical reality. In the Sefer Asarim Amaris, it says over there clear that it's not a Yaakov phenomenon, that Avir Gan Eden Mispashet Saviv Kol Adam. That there's an Avir of Gan Eden that surrounds a person. Every person is living in a cocoon, in an environment, in an atmosphere of Gan Eden. There is an impact in the Avir, in the environment of a person, Kol Machshavesov, all of his thoughts, Vidiburov, and all the things, all of his communication, Hatovin Shabbatayre V'Avedas Hashem. It means everything you do, and that's good, that you create this aura around you. And the aura around you follows you. That's the aura you bring with yourself. So what is Gan Eden? What is heaven? Heaven is what you create. The Torah you learn, the mitzvahs you do, that is your Gan Eden. You build your own Gan Eden. You don't come into some Gan Eden. You experience the rewards, the fruits of your labors. The fruits of your labors are then experienced when the nefesh is separates in the body and the ruach is freed. The ruach now goes into the reality that it created when it was here during its terrestrial lifetime. So this ruach, which is ultimately your Gan Eden, is not something that's created only after one dies. The ruach initially is here. You're actually creating your Gan Eden around you. We have nothing to do with Gan Eden. We don't relate to ruach. We barely relate to nefesh. Some of us can't even relate to nefesh. Some people are very physical. They could touch somebody, see him. They can't even feel somebody's pain. They don't even know when somebody's uncomfortable. Some people are sensitive. They sense things about people. Most people, or many people, don't even have sensitivity for nefesh. But no regular person has sensitivity for ruach. Who is able to sense ruach? Tzaddikim. Because tzaddikim they're ruchniistic people. They live in a level of ruach. So, v'chein lehepech, I say, oh great, I'm glad we all have Gan Eden. Well, if you have Gan Eden, you have Gan Eden. But chas v'shalom, the opposite. Neshama ba'avir mispashet b'gehenim sov kol adam. A person also creates his own gehenim. So if a person thinks horrible thoughts and communicates horrible things and does terrible things, what is their environment? Their environment is exactly that. Now here's something interesting. The idea of the aura around the person takes either a tzaddik to see and notice it, or there's another kind of creature that can relate to it. Animals. Because animals have no consciousness, no self-consciousness. They have no seichel. They have no machshava. What animals only have is midas. They have very strong midas. And because animals don't have the limitations that human beings have, animals can relate. And therefore, there's a famous story where there was a woman who noticed Elisha. And what did she say about Elisha? Whenever he walked, the little animals ran away. They were terrified of him. She said, they know something about him. This is not a regular person. And because of that, she said Elisha is special, and she did things for Elisha, and that she gets blessed with a child. The story with she knows the Shunamis. The point is, the animal can notice. Some people say, I trust my dog's instincts. Sure. The dog might know something. If the dog gets very nervous, the dog might know something. The dog could be the dogs definitely have midas, no question about that. Sefer HaChinuch says that every animal has very powerful midas, maternal instincts, and these are those instinctual feelings are there for an animal. And an animal could sense this ruach. The point then is this: you're going to tell me that ruach is in Gan Eden. What does that have to do with us here? Now the Rebbe says that's not true. Ruach is here. It's just the ruach is not limited inside the guf; it's around the guf. So that means if the nefesh is now at the grave, what else then is around the area of the grave? The ruach. So when you go to the oil, what are you connecting with? With the ruach of the Rebbe. And the ruach of the tzaddik is here in a more profound way, because before you can only get the ruach through the nefesh. You can only get it through the convention of the body. But now that the body no longer is in the way, you're able to access and receive the level of ruach in a direct fashion. And that's the meaning of Yater B'Chayui, that tzaddik is found in this world, that the ruach of the tzaddik is more available even than during the tzaddik's terrestrial lifetime. And tomorrow we'll finish this off.